Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Cam, and The Adjustment Bureau is better than you remember. This was directed by George Nolfi, who is one of the screenwriters on The Bourne Ultimatum. This was based on the short story The Adjustment Team, written by Philip K. Dick, and it starred Matt Damon, Emily Blunt, Terrence Stamp, and Anthony Mackie, among others. It tells the story of a man named David Norris, played by Damon. He is an up-and-coming New York congressman, but when we first meet him, he loses his congressional race due to an incident where he provided a bit of a full moon in a New York City nightclub, which I don't know, and this is unrelated, but I don't know what's more unrealistic about this movie, that it entails a team of dudes who oversee everyone and keep them on their plan, or their destiny, if you will, or somebody going into Congress or trying to get into Congress and having an incident like that and losing. I can assure you, if David Norris runs in today's politics, he would have a better than 50% chance of getting the presidency. Anyway, after losing this race, he is preparing for his concession speech when he meets a young woman named Elise, played by Emily Blunt. The meeting gives him so much energy that he goes and does his concession speech, and he crushes it. Fast forward a couple of years, and the two meet again. But that was not part of the plan. Norris is then confronted by the Adjustment Bureau, a team who work in the shadows, and like I said, make sure everyone follows their plan. David Norris's plan, well, doesn't involve Elise. However, Norris is convinced that Elise is important to him, and so fights against the odds to try and retain his relationship with her, despite the odds against him. If you follow me for any length of time, you'll know that I love me some sci-fi, especially some of the more thought-provoking stuff. But I wasn't really prepared for how much I would dig this movie. I remember seeing it in theaters in 2011 when it was released, and I loved it. I thought it was going to be a big deal. And it was not. So I said to myself, if my YouTube channel takes off, then I'm going to make a video about it. And so I have more subscribers than I've had in my history here on YouTube, so here I am making a video about the Adjustment Bureau. Firstly, I love the chemistry between Matt Damon and Emily Blunt. Matt Damon is Matt Damon. He can go from being funny, serious, he can be in spy movies, he can be in funny comedies, everything in between. The dude is versatile. And this is one of my favorite performances of his. It's certainly one of his more underrated. The concession speech that kind of sparks this whole thing is genuinely really cool to watch. He kind of figures that he's got nothing to lose at this point, so he basically just goes on this rant about how for the past 8 months he's been told what to wear, what to say, that kind of sort of thing. He even goes on this thing where he's like, if I wear a gray tie, then that will be perceived as I'm taking things too seriously. Or if I wear a yellow tie or something lighter than that, then I'm taking things too lightly, and I'm likely to drop my pants at any minute. He closes his speech by taking a shoe off and saying that there is actually a metric that says that this is the correct amount of buff that a shoe must be polished. It's like, I don't know why I like it so much. It's just cool. Plus, Norris is our window into the Adjustment Bureau, like what they're all about and so forth. I won't spoil anything here, but basically, they are the free will police. There's a scene where Norris is talking to the agent, played by Terrence Stamp, and Norris is like, well, haven't you ever heard of free will? And Terrence Stamp is like, yeah, you all had free will, and you didn't do so hot with it. Stamp goes into detail saying that without us, you were in the Dark Ages for 5 centuries. We provided you the Renaissance and the Enlightenment. Then we gave you the controls again. You gave us fascism, 2 world wars, the Holocaust, and you nearly destroyed everything with the Cuban Missile Crisis. So we have the reins now forever. Stamp goes on to say stuff like, you have control over smaller things like what you drink at lunch and what time you wake up in the morning and things like that. But when it comes to big picture things like who you marry, what job you take, well, That's in our hands. And it is incredibly heavily implied that Norris, according to the plan, is supposed to win the next congressional election, and in the words of Terrence Stamp, 4 more elections after that. Meaning that if David Norris just ignores Elise, he's going to be the president. Speaking of Emily Blunt, let's talk about her, because Emily Blunt is awesome. She's another versatile actor. She can be in something action-packed like Edge of Tomorrow. That Edge of Darkness is a Mel Gibson movie. And she can be in something more lighthearted like Mary Poppins Returns, and she's really good in here as well. She has a plan in her own way, and that Norris learns that if they stay together, well, she's not going to be a prima ballerina. She's going to own one of those dance studios for like 6- and 7-year-old girls, which, on a personal note, I know teachers like that, and they're perfectly happy, so I don't know what Zod is talking about. I also just love the concept of the Bureau in and of itself. They're kept shrouded in mystery, and they kind of feel like evil Time Lords, or not necessarily evil Time Lords, but Time Lords that aren't Doctor Who. I hope that makes some sense. There are a couple scenes where you see people's plans, they're in these leather-bound books, and the agents are looking at them and they're like, this was supposed to happen, but when this happened, everything just kind of changed. For example, when they first confront Norris after Norris meets Elise for the second time, they tell him that, yeah, this wasn't supposed to happen. Then they consult the plan, and they realize that it was supposed to happen. And so it's kind of fluid like that. Some of the other agents include John Slattery, who you probably know from Mad Men. He's the agent that you see the most in the beginning. And I don't want to say a sub-agent, but an agent kind of in the background, is Anthony Mackie. Now, this was my first exposure to Mackie. This was before he'd be Falcon in the MCU, and he'd be Martin Luther King in All the Way, and Thurgood Marshall in the Thurgood movie. Before he was doing all of that, he was in the Adjustment Bureau. And I said to myself, I like this guy, Anthony Mackie. I think he's going to be something. And yeah, he kind of is now. Anthony Mackie's character, it shows that the Adjustment Bureau is not some heartless, this is the thing no matter what. He has a heart, and he kind of tries to break everything down for Norris to try and explain it. There are several scenes where it shows that he likes Norris, he wants to help him, but he's got a job to do. So it's complicated. And I do think what I love the most about the movie is the questions that the movie poses. Not only just, thinking-wise, but it leaves, like I said, it leaves the Bureau in enough of a cloud of mystery to where there's a kernel of truth here and there, but the question is never really answered. And in bigger picture stuff, the movie asks a lot of questions about if you're given the choice of a life of happiness or a life of meaning, what do you choose? I personally think you can do both, but the movie portrays both sides as having pros and cons. It doesn't have an agenda, for lack of a better word. And at the end of the day, if you have not seen this movie, I do recommend it, or if you have and maybe haven't seen it for a while, I recommend you see this one even more. I can't remember if this is on a particular streaming service. I will look it up and put it in the lower third if I can find it, but if you can find this, do watch it. It is really good. But that is all from me. Thank you so much as always for watching. If you like this video, please be sure to leave a like, comment your thoughts down below, and if you like this video and you want to see more like it, hit the subscribe button and click the bell to allow notifications. That way when a new video drops, you'll be the first to know about it. My name is Ryan Cam. I'll see you in the next one.